Welcome to In the Nude, podcast where we talk about healing and all of its raw truth. So let's talk about healing. Almost all of you can remember where your healing started, whether it was a staggered events that led you up to this moment where you looked back and you're like, somewhere along this journey is where I would say, or if you're like me and you have a actual pinpoint moment. For me, it was getting a hair away from becoming my worst nightmare, the thing that I promised I would never be, a vacant mom. I don't know if you've ever experienced a vacant mother. I have. Whether it was by their choice or by their own mental breakdown or otherwise. I know what it's like to be that kid, and I promised myself as soon as the test turned positive, would never do that to my kids. They didn't ask to be in here. This world, all of it comes with it, and I would not be that person. I found myself a single mom and in the deepest depression of my life. I feel like there are people who have the capacity to unalive themselves, and I feel like there are people who don't. Because I was in the darkest of darks, and I continuously thought about it. If I could have been able to do it, I would have. That's how dark I was. And I sat there and I had this realization that I was 3 seconds away from being everything I promised I would not be for my kids. It was that moment that launched me into healing. Healing is not something that comes from roses. It's not something that comes from those happy, joyful moments. Healing starts from the darkness. It comes from those hardships and pains and traumas and bad things. Those pivotal changes in our life, they come from the darkness, and the reason why that is when you're in that happy place, when you're chilling out, Netflix and binging, or you're like having the best time with your best friends, the last thing in your brain is about how to shift things. You're like, wait, I don't want to shift out of this. I'm enjoying this. But you know what your body does really well? Wanting to shift when you're in a bad place. It's like, whoa, I actively am causing you pain because I want you to eat something different or move your body differently. I want you to examine what's going on and fix it. I'm sounding the alarms, and I started soft and you were ignoring it, so I'm going darker and deeper and louder, so please do something. That's where healing comes from. And that's why healing can feel dingy and hard and sad and ugly and like you're in a mire, because it doesn't birth, it doesn't that edification, that adjustment doesn't come from these moments of sheer joy and glitter. You can get there and you can have them in the midst of the healing, but the precipice of what gets you on a different path than the mainstay of where people just kind of chug along day to day, automatoning themselves into whatever, it's darkness. And the people who stay on the path of healing are the people who aren't afraid to look in with themselves. Because that's what the healing journey is. There's a famous quote that says something along the lines of, the amount that you can heal is directly proportional to the amount you can stare in the mirror and not look away from what's there. Because healing is innately, the baseline is accepting what is. Not accepting does not mean you have to like it. You do not have to like what you see, but you do have to accept that it's there. I do not like the fact that I struggle with perfectionism. I do not like the fact that I struggle with self-worth. I do not like the fact that I struggle with thinking that if I don't achieve enough, that I don't have value. Those are not things I like, but accepting them, seeing what is the only way for me to adjust what is. I can sit there all day long and say, it should be this way, or I should be this way, or this should change. Shoulds don't do. Okay? If they don't, it doesn't change anything. What does is accepting what's there. And the best thing to make forward movement, because let me tell you, sometimes, at least for me, part of the healing journey feels like you're ramming your head against the same friggin' wall. You're just like, could you just learn it? It would be great if you could just, how many times do we have to learn this lesson? How many? That's me all day long. But the thing that I have found to make it so it not has to be that all the time is counterintuitive to everything we learn. Almost everything about the healing journey is counterintuitive to what we learn. We have learned that to sit and exist is lazy. We have learned to vie for our worth, and if we're not achieving, and if we're not offering value, then we don't have value. I'm just going to state right now, your value, your worth, it's not an equation, it is. Equal worth, just is. There's no negotiation, there's no adding to it, there's no taking away. You breathe, you exist, you are worthy, okay? We're just going to baseline. You don't have to like it or know how to accept it. It's just, that's a truth. It just is, okay? That is counterintuitive to all of the things that we have learned. Almost everything about healing comes down to the idea of being willing to look in the mirror and hold yourself accountable with grace and compassion. Understanding your innate value and dissociating who you are versus the bad habits you've picked up for coping, and learning to exist and be in the moment. If I had to like quantify healing in like some type of like simple terms, that is what I would say it is. And the pivotal thing to make you go from feeling like you're having to learn the exact same lesson over and over and over about everything all the time, the more you can give yourself empathy, compassion, and grace, the quicker every last one of those lessons your body is trying to teach you is learned. We've tried the whole beating ourselves up thing. It's innate, right? Your head is a parrot of all the negative things people have said or implied, or even like you just took up from their actions or lack of actions. Okay? We've gone that path. We have gone that path enough. If beating yourself up worked by now, it would have worked. I'm sure somebody has said that, and it's a famous quote. I don't know who it is, but if they didn't say it, they said it. So let's stop. The parrot in our head, they aren't telling the truth. Our worth isn't up for negotiation. It is understandable the ways that you have chosen to cope and survive till now. It's amazing that you have decided to start and or be and continue to exist on this journey of trying to become more yourself, more the true you, not the bad coping mechanisms we pulled into ourselves. Because you, just like innate you, how you, chef's kiss. It's beautiful. It's fantastic. A unique constellation. Yes, that is a pull from Must Love Dogs. If you haven't seen it, it's cute. It's a rom-com though, just like know in advance. Anyway, the more you can envelop compassion to yourself. Here, let me prove it to you, okay? You've had a really bad day, right? Like a really bad day. One of those like days, okay? You call a bestie and you're like, oh, I'm going to rant. And you just like go off on that day. If your bestie, one, responds with, that's not that bad, and then goes off on their day, or says, that's not that bad, you're being ridiculous. Any of those type of, that helped nothing. It added to your frustration and piled in some more like anger and like bitterness and like what, okay? Option two, they set about trying to fix your situation. Oh, well, if you had done this, or if you go back and do this. No, that also does not help. We's in the feels. What we want is empathy. If instead a person goes, I've had days like that and they blow, I'm so sorry. They don't even have to offer to help. Just them resonating with the fact it was a bad day, all of a sudden it's alleviated. It's like lifted up. It's like dissipated the power of that emotion, because you are allowed to feel it and feel validated in it and empathized in that feeling. It can be freed. An emotion just wants to be accepted, felt, and then it can go away. And we can do that for ourselves. You're feeling sad. You don't have to have a reason. There doesn't have to be a justification for feeling sad. Your body stores feelings in it from other things, and you don't have to make the connections. You can just exist with yourself in that sadness. You can play that sad song, curl up in that fetal position and weep. And just embrace the fact it exists. And the more we just like embrace our feelings and just like, come here, let me just be with you. Like a best friend to ourselves. It goes away and then peace comes. Sure, it's energy, but it is an empowering energy and it is a peace-bringing energy. Same with frustration. We don't always have to have a reason for our feelings. Often I feel like we have these like mental things where we have to like justify things are like, you're not allowed to. It is, okay? You are feeling it. So you sitting there and saying, I shouldn't be, that doesn't do it. Let's go back to the beginning, accept what is, okay? And give yourself compassion, empathy, and grace in it. That same way your best friend, if they're that kind person that sits with you empathetically and it dissipates, we can do that for ourselves. And the more we do that for ourselves in the hardships of learning and the difficulty of the fact that so much of the healing journey is literally the fact that you might understand something and comprehend something up here in this brain, fantastic machinery up here, but it has yet to come down up in this piece and like be practically applied. Think about when you learned to ride a bike, right? You understood, okay, or bowling. Oh, I cannot bowl, right? I understand the concept of bowling. You put your hands on the ball, you pull it back, and you don't let your wrist twist, and you like do the walkie thing, and you drop it at the right moment. I can't bowl. I understand every last computation of that entire I know it, but can my body adhere to what my brain knows? And no, it cannot. Could it if I invested? Probably, but I'm not going to. And I just accept the fact I can't bowl, and it's okay with me, right? Riding a bike, you understand the concept of handles, hands on the handles, feet on the pedals, pedaling in a clockwise motion, using your core to balance. You understand that concept as a kid before you know how to ride a bike. But then you also can't apply it to the same thing with healing, okay? There is so much of the healing journey that is understanding what you want to do, what you desire to be your life, how you want to show up, versus what your body and emotions are doing. There's this like two worlds that exist on everything that you learn that's a part of it. Acknowledging what is, acknowledging your desire, that's amazing. That's a win. Acknowledging the fact you're not there, that means you're observing yourself. That's a win. Acknowledging that it's hard, that's a win. Existing in that feeling for yourself, learning to be compassionate and regulate yourself, huge win. So difficult. The more we can give ourselves that empathy and compassion and grace, the growth is exponential, but even more so, the path is more enjoyable. Healing isn't, let's quantify healing like a hike, okay? You've decided, I want to get and see this view, right? You want to be healed, okay? Most of the hike isn't the view that you get. It's going up and coming back down, okay? It's sweating, it's getting your legs muscled, sore, it's getting dirt on yourself, it's being dehydrated and then chugging water and then needing to pee and not having someplace to pee and then deciding to pee in the bush. Like it's all of the humanity, apparently. It's all of that, way more than getting to see the view. The view is great, but if we spend the entire time on the hike just pinpoint focused on where we're going on that view, instead of the journey, we miss out on the tiny views along the way. We miss out on listening to the birds and hearing the water and seeing that creek that we could just like skip over to for a second and enjoy that blissful water and cool down. If we give ourselves compassion, grace, and empathy, we can let go of the control and desire to constantly do and learn to be. And sometimes we go off and we see that river. The river takes us to the destination we are intended for that's got a much better view than we thought we'd end up at. So if I can implore you of anything today, I would love it if you did me a favor. I want you to, after this, take just a little bit, and I want you to think about you, who you are right now, in contrast to who you were 3 years ago, 3 months ago, a year ago. And I want you to think of 3 things that you have adjusted, even if they're tiny. Even if it's something as silly as you wanted to work out and you put on your yoga shoes, right? You didn't do the workout yet, but you got the yoga shoes on, check in the right direction, okay? And then I want you to do something aligned for yourself. You're on this healing journey, go outside and walk around your yard or a grassy area in a park barefoot. Go open a window or stand outside and close your eyes and take a deep breath in, feel the wind, and just exist in the moment. Decide to paint something or draw something or dance silly to a favorite song or text a friend to say that they're amazing. Do something small, because those differences, the more we notice them, the more we notice them, the more we take the time to really see them, point them out, celebrate them, the more we will see them, the more encouragement it is, the more encouraged we are, the more compassionate we can be, the more grateful we can be, the more we can thrive and enjoy the entire journey. And you're worth it.